So congratulations, your church is about to turn 1, or 2, or 3, or 100. Whatever it is, your anniversary celebration is something to be excited about and invite people to. And so today on Practical Church Planting, we're going to give you 6 ideas on how to make your church's anniversary service unique.
Welcome back to Practical Church Planting, where in 15 minutes or less, we'll give you practical tips, advice, and encouragement to help you plant and grow healthy churches. My name is Brian Androsian. Joining me here is Dylan Dodson, and today we're talking about 6 ways to make your anniversary service special or unique.
There you go. So, if you're a church planter, or if you've been established, every year your church can have an anniversary service or a birthday or whatever you want to call it. The week this is released, this coming Sunday, is our 2nd anniversary as a church.
Turning 2.
And so maybe we'll talk about this at the end of the episode, but I would say take advantage of this as much as you can, promote it, and do a bunch of great stuff because you want people to come to celebrate what God is doing.
Definitely.
One of the ways to do that is to make it a little bit different, and so that you can give people a reason to come. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to give you 6 ideas, and you can kind of take these, leave these, or see how they might apply for you. So here's one way. Here's number one way that you can make your anniversary service unique. Number 1 is you could use a different location. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this, but if you do it with enough time and promotion, and it's a place that people know and like, and it's familiar, or it can cause momentum, that's one way to make it different.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe this is more so if you're a larger church, and maybe if you have multiple locations and you want to bring everyone together, I don't know. But it's one way to make it different. Now, one thing I would caution with this is I'm not personally a fan of outdoor services.
Oh, that's what I was going to suggest.
Because while it sounds great and everybody loves it, you try to preach outside and you got about 3 minutes before people stop listening.
Yeah.
Because it's either bright or sunny, or it's too cold or too warm, or the weather's perfect, there's people running around. But I've seen a lot of people do this. One way to do it is to do a different location. Try not to do it too far from where you currently meet, because that'll be a big detractor. But if it's a place that's well known in the community, or there's something special that you can do at that venue, using a different location is one way to spark interest and do it different.
You took away from me. I was going to suggest outdoor because I know how much you hate it.
And you too, Brian.
But, you know, whatever. I agree with it. I mean, I think people's, if you're a church plant and don't have multiple locations, in your mind, when you hear this, automatically goes to where can we do outdoor? Out in the park or something? Because there's not a whole lot of other facilities that you'd be able to hold a church service. And yeah, I think that's I've seen it done well. I've seen it done poorly. And I think it's a fun thing for an event. But there's not going to be much preaching going on. I mean, people, even if everything is perfect weather-wise, everything is good, it's just you're outside, it's hard to focus.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I'm not saying you should never do a service outside. I think what's unique about your anniversary service is it's a fun way to invite people, tell people to invite their friends, you're going to do something different.
Yeah.
And if you do it outside, it's not at all what your church feel is normally like.
That's true.
So these new people are not going to know. They're going to be distracted. Like, they're not going to have a good experience, likely. I mean, they might have fun with their friends, but they're not going to get to know your church and see this is a place that they might be interested in coming.
Right.
But that's one thing you do. You can try a different location, but you want to make sure it's a good, feasible location. Number 2 is you can do some sort of special video. Now, here's the thing. As church, if you're part of a church plant, or a new church, or a small plant, or a small church, I said the same thing 4 different ways, you don't have the biggest budget. There's not everything you can do. But let me show you one thing that we did our first year, one thing we're doing again, that was really super easy. One Sunday morning, about a month or 2 before our anniversary service, in one of our rooms, we just set up a camera against the wall, and we grabbed people all Sunday and just said, tell us one thing you love, in our case, about New City Church, or one of your favorite things about New City Church. Or you could say, what's one of your favorite memories of New City Church? Whatever the question is, I would try to ask everyone the same 1 or 2 questions. You can put it together, and that on your anniversary service, you can share everyone's different responses, and everyone will be like, oh, that is really cool. I really like that. And if you're new, you're like, oh, like, people actually like their church?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. But that's one way you could do a special video that way. You could also do a testimony video of someone's a story of life change about Jesus or about your church. But I do think that special video, that first one that we talked about, and Brian's the one that puts them together, so he can tell you, I think it's very feasible for a lot of churches regardless of your budget.
Yeah, the good thing about that one is it doesn't take much planning. Testimony videos can be great. But they can also not be so great if they're not planned out well. So something like this, where it's everyone who wants to be in it, talks for 5 seconds, maybe.
They answer one question.
Yeah, 10 seconds is too much. Like, they talk for hardly any time. And they just answer, we do it. What's been your favorite thing about New City? And the cool thing is you kind of expect everyone to give a sort of similar answer. If you think about it, there's only so many answers people can give, but you get all kinds of different things. Right. And some of them are funny. Like, some of them are silly, some of them are really serious, and some of them are like, yeah, I had life change happen here. And so I think, and then compiling all this and showing it to your congregation, I think it really helps open people's eyes to what other people experience there. And the cool thing about it is you can do it with a phone. Get an iPhone 10, you can turn it sideways and it takes better video than most cameras. You can edit it in iMovie or whatever free software you have. I mean, it doesn't take much of any money to put together.
And the cool thing is you can say the few weeks leading up to your service, hey, it's our whatever anniversary, we're going to be sharing a special video. Like, and again, giving people incentive to come. You don't have to tell them what it is. But doing some sort of special video is an easy way, especially the one that we're talking about, where you just ask everybody one question. It's an easy way to make it special.
And everybody wants to see themselves on screen, so everyone that you're recording, tell them when it's going to be, and they will be there if they think they're going to be in a video.
Just don't guarantee that they will all make the cut.
That's true.
Because
it's true.
But you can say, hey, we're showing it this Sunday, and you can just say for time's sake we didn't make yours, but some of them will be great. But yeah, do some sort of special video. That's one way you can make it unique. Here's number 3. You can decorate your place. Like, you can just make it fun. Like, the environment, and we talked about this in previous episodes, really matters, whether consciously or unconsciously. Like, it matters, the vibe and the feel. So like for us, we're getting a bunch of balloons and decorations for our space. We're going, I guess it's technically not decorations, but it's the same idea. Like, we're getting a bunch of treats, and they're going to be like our New City colors, cookies or cupcakes or whatever it is, but making the space just feel like a party and make it feel special. I mean, even just a balloon, people are like, there's balloons. Right. People love balloons.
Right. I know. Decorations is groundbreaking advice.
Right.
But it's I don't know how to put this. The smallest things can make a difference. Like, everything does not need to be, we need to tank this year's budget to have this huge blowout, and then things don't go right and it goes, it turns into this huge thing. But yeah, you should put time and effort into it. It's an important thing, but if you have a small budget, you can still do a lot with just, like you said, balloons or kind of like silly things that doesn't really cost much of any money.
Right. Yeah. So just have fun, make the space look fun, and you can even say, hey, we're decorating the space. It doesn't even have to be tons of money. Just something different to make it feel different.
Right.
Because it's a big deal every year. It's a big deal. You should celebrate.
Yeah.
Here's number 4. You could have a big announcement. Now, make sure you actually have a big announcement if you're going to say you have a big announcement.
Don't force an announcement.
Don't say you're going to have a big announcement and then it be something that people don't care about. Like, I don't even know. Like, we're launching small groups next week.
Right.
I mean, you might be excited about that, but like, people, like when you say a big announcement, there's things like, I don't know, maybe you're moving, or things like I don't even know. I probably should have given some examples.
Maybe adding a service if you're at that point.
Just doing something different that affects people in a positive manner. But don't say you have a big announcement again if it's like, oh, we took in an extra $1,000 last month and we're excited. Like, this one's kind of tricky if you don't have one, but if you have one and you've got something cool that you really want to share with your church and your anniversary service is somewhat soon and you can wait, that's a really great way to hold momentum.
Yeah. For it to be a big announcement, it needs to affect just about everybody and be unexpected.
Right.
So you can filter through that. Small groups, they're wonderful. They do affect almost everybody. Everyone's expecting a church to have small groups. So it's not like an unexpected thing, but something that people don't know is coming or aren't expecting, and it's going to affect everybody in a positive way, obviously.
And in a church plant setting, it could be, hey, we're hiring a staff member and it's their first Sunday. That's especially if you're small, people are like, oh, that's great. Like anything that you can celebrate that God is doing, that's a cool thing to do. You can have an announcement that you don't normally get to make.
Right.
Here's number 5. Number 5 is you could bring in a guest speaker. Now, I would be this is one that's tricky. Is you want to do it with someone that is good and maybe someone that people know, and maybe in a church plant setting this is harder to do. But I wouldn't just have some random friend come and speak that nobody is familiar of, or they're not really good, and then people come and they're like, I don't know what's so special about that. So I've seen people do guest speakers. To be honest, I haven't seen a lot of church plants do it. I've seen more established churches do it. They'll bring in somebody that they know is good, or some people that people know of. But if you have connections like that, that's a fun way to do something different on your anniversary service.
Yeah, like you said, this is contingent on having some connections, because bringing in your pastor friend from down the road to preach, that is... that means he's going to phone in the message. I mean, he's going to use a message he already wrote, and that's fine, but that's what happens. And also, you want people to get a good picture of what your church is. And so I think if you bring in someone who's kind of, not that this is all that matters, but more well-known or more experienced, people aren't going to assume that's what your church is,
right,
in an okay way. Like, if you bring in someone who everyone knows, if they bring a guest, they're not going to think, oh, if I come back next week, this guy's going to be there, because you'll make a big deal about where he's from and things like that. However, if you just bring in your buddy who he's great, but he's a no-name guy who nobody knows, and they bring their friend, they may think, well, this is what this church is, and he might not be very good, So right. you want to give a good picture of what your church actually is, and so make sure whoever you're bringing is worth bringing.
Right, that's good. So a guest speaker.
Yeah.
Here's number 6. And this is something we did our first year. We didn't do it this second year because we only had one service and we couldn't quite figure it out for 2 services, which is what we have now.
Yeah.
We have something called everybody what March Madness is. It's the big college basketball tournament that happens every year here in Raleigh. College basketball is a really big deal. Our anniversary weekend follows the week of the Final Four. Right, or the week after, somewhere around there.
Right.
And so we have what's called March Gladness.
Worst name ever.
But worst name. But it was cheesy, and we went with it because it was cheesy.
Oh, yeah,
we made it. But basically, the NCAA tournament, March Madness, lasts 3 weekends. You have the first weekend, second weekend, and the Final Four. And so we started with 8 options, and everyone voted. And then the top, like a bracket style, they voted between 2. And then the next weekend there was 4 options, and the last weekend there was 2 options. And then we announced the winner. And then our anniversary service, which was the following week, so it was the week after the tournament ended, was the thing that we celebrated with.
Yeah.
The cool thing was it gave everyone, every week we got to talk for 3 weeks before our service. We got to talk about our service without it sounding promotional. And it was a fun way to get people voting on what it was to give them incentive to come.
Yep.
So we talked about, we had like a cookout, a bounce house, a dunk tank, like 8 different, like shaved ice, all 8 different things. And then ultimately a cookout won, and we also got a bounce house because we were just, why not? Just for fun.
Yeah.
But it was a way to talk about it. And it didn't work. It was harder for us because now that we have 2 services, we wanted to pick things that both services could enjoy. Like if you have 2 services and you do a cookout, that's great, but like the first service isn't coming, or they have to wait around.
Yeah.
So we didn't do it this year, but basically you can think of a voting tournament.
Yeah.
So maybe just the week before or a couple of weeks before, say, here's how we want to celebrate, you guys decide, and then you could talk about it every single week.
Yeah, one thing that we did that you can't really do unless you're in your own space, but that we did the first year, we would have done the second year if we did it, is we took a wall and we painted the bracket on the wall. So we painted the bracket on the wall, wrote in all the options, and then the next week we would continue the bracket down so people could see what was going on. And I think it was another example of just having it in their face the whole time. So by the time it came to our anniversary, even if you didn't care between the 2, whatever the final was, you still just kind of wanted to know what won,
And you knew it was the anniversary weekend, so you knew it was going to be fun and special. So doing some sort of vote, even if it's just the week before between like a couple options, letting your people have a say. Now make sure like it's stuff that you can actually do,
right?
Because if you have an option, like you probably know what's going to win.
Yeah.
So if you do something crazy, like if you like it, everyone else is going to like it. So just make sure it's doable.
Like for example, we were trying to get Steph to get tattoos, but we're like, that's obviously going to win.
So we didn't want to get tattoos. Not this time. Maybe sometime in the future. But some sort of like voting, right? Some sort of voting or something, like giving them an opportunity to pick. That's one way to make it special.
Yeah.
And then you do that thing. The point is simply this, that you should make it fun and different in some way. And this is your anniversary is one of the, like Christmas and Easter, it's one of the easy ways to promote without feeling self-promotional. And it's just a way to have fun that you can't do stuff like this maybe every week. We want to have fun. Like one of the things we're doing, we're not really promoting this, but it's just one of the fun things that we're going to do because we're telling people, hey, our service is going to be fun, is we're starting our service off with a quick game of trivia. So we're going to have 2 people on stage each service, one person that's been there for a while, one person that's pretty new. We're going to say, who wants to come up? Obviously, we're not going to call people out. And we're going to have them give them trivia about New City. Like 10 questions or 5 questions or whatever it is. It's going to be pretty quick, and have them options. It'll be funny because I guarantee you the person that's new is probably going to get just as many right as the person that's been around for a while. But we're going to start the service with some fun. We're going to, like for this year, so we're going to start with a game. We're going to do that special video that we talked about where we had everyone say one thing they love about New City. We're going to decorate our place and buy and do a bunch of desserts and treats. And then we also have a church that we partner with down in Guatemala financially, and we've sent teams down. The pastor there is going to send us a video just saying thank you for what you do, and we're going to share that as well. So we're going to just add some special things that we don't normally do to make it fun. To give, and all this reason is simply this, to give people a reason to come. Like you want to give people a reason to say, I don't want to miss out on that. And that way you come, obviously you preach the gospel and you share Jesus with them as well. But you want to give people a reason to come because why not? It's your birthday.
And it's people, especially if they've been with you for a while, they really identify with your church. They feel like it's their church, and so having it that and let's be real, an anniversary is a big deal. I mean, surviving a year, 2 years, 3 years is a big deal. And so it's giving people an excuse to invite people, an excuse to do something different, but it's also just a way to celebrate your people. And I mean, to kind of brush past it and act like it's not a big deal, I think does your people some disservice because they think it's a big deal.
Right.
And so I think you should honor it and honor them.
Yeah, that's great. Brian, great points. And also, I forgot to say this, but if you want a guest speaker, just fly in Brian for Practical Church Planting. Everybody will love it.
That's right. My rates are low.
Very low. Well, thanks for being with us today. Again, practicalplanting.com/questions. You can submit questions there if you have a topic or something you want us to discuss in a future episode. And thanks for listening today. We'll be with you next time on Practical Church Planting. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Practical Church Planting. Whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or Practical Planting, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, make sure you like or subscribe or do whatever it's telling you to do or should do on that platform.
And hey, if you are so tired of looking at our ugly faces, but you're not tired of listening to our beautiful voices, then you can find our podcast if you just search Practical Church Planting on iTunes or Google Play. Make sure not to just find it, not just to listen, but to subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe. Brian, tell them to subscribe.
Subscribe.
See you next time.